Hey guys, how are you? Super quick one on Bitcoin. So, how did it all pan out? We had an interesting time. We were on fear for a possible inverted at this juncture over here. And this little microfractal was either going to push down or it was going to push up. If it pushed down and led to a strong sell-off, we would have been very powerfully in a situation for a flat-bottomed inverted HVF. If it broke up, it would be a question of how well was it supported and how far did it go. These were the key levels of significance that were drawn prior to the event. The $20,000 mark, which was the scare-off point for our last high. The 15,000 mark, which showed itself to be significant earlier a number of times, and even on the downside there was a bit of flagging. It sliced the bear flag in two. You can see it was support once we got above it on the failed upside HVF as it occurred on the way up, and this ran all the way through significance all the way there. And for those that wondered, well, the head and shoulders didn't work, well, actually there was a head and shoulders that did work. The nestled in smaller one, the larger one didn't. So let's just show you what did happen. So left shoulder here, head first inverted in a new trend. Notice how an innocuously fairly small pattern can be very meaningful. Strong sell, flat bottom, disproportionate and low slung. You can't treat this as an easy upside. Big capitulative sell-off, disproportionate second impulse, and high rising. My mistake was doing volume by price and forgetting that the first inverteds can be high rising. In other words, the volume by price was pretty much on the axis. But that doesn't mean it's an upside. Not if it's the first possible first in a new trend. So volume by price is slightly less useful. It just tells you where the knocking is going. And so that sold off well. Made its target in the first go. This was your right shoulder, much smaller than this left shoulder zone here, which could be either that or that. But the way we took the neckline, this is your left shoulder here with a neckline there, and this is your higher right shoulder that is supporting on the neckline, which is the axis. It's always the axis of the failed funnel. So when you look at that, that was your amplitude from the head down to the axis, and we always use a horizontal line. Go check out the clips on HVF style head and shoulders. We don't do angled lines. That line is then copied down. I'm on the super slow trading view, so it's going to walk its way down, but you can see because it's logarithmic, it stretches out and looks like I've made the line bigger, but it hasn't, and that projected you down to there. I'm going to put the line back up top there because it's useful to keep that amplitude showing from whence it came. So you'll see from that in fact the purple dashed line right at the bottom was your target for this HVF. Now I was a bit slow on the uptake because I was in the air when all of this was happening, and previously I'd been very fortunate to buy a similar opportunity here, and I was nowhere to be seen on it this time round. So sorry that that opportunity was missed. But remember, this is a transferable skill, and I'm giving you this information so that you can see these things for yourself and be calling them for the community if I'm thrown under a bus or whatever the case may be. So inverted head and shoulders, expect this every time. Highly ascending upside HVF that fails to make target often rolls into head and shoulders with an inverted HVF, often slightly higher, trying to support on the funnel neckline that was created by the failed upside HVF. That was the structure. Especially with the imperfection and the ascending nature, this did have a higher likelihood of failure, of not making target. So it did break, but it just never quite had the oomph. That was your warning that you'd turned bear. This was your warning that you've gone into the right shoulder, which you typically get on an inversion. Note it's a lot spikier HVF, quite volatile all the way in. Still quite high rising, not super flat bottom between the low 1 and the low 2, as was this one, fairly flat bottom, but still quite high rising. Why? Probably the late bulls. Your little think there, and then you smash your line. That is the break of your head and shoulders. Always you break impulsively. That is your return move to funnel. Stopping there, bear flag. Also, midpoint, key level of significance, $15,000. Splitting the flag in two, returning to the funnel, failure. making target, then churning for a while after making HVF target, and then selling off again. Big volume, rally, got quite choppy now, and then there's the low. That low makes the head and shoulder downside. Many people sitting out there that aren't on this forum will say the head and shoulder wasn't made. They didn't draw the right head and shoulder, the first one. The big one was not made. The initial one was. So that target rally, that gives us a resistance at the 15,000 KLOS, the key level of significance, which is your bear flag split in two, which was all the way through a key round number. And what do you then do? You revisit. What do? You touch the target key level of significance, but not at a logical number, 11,700, I think it is effectively. There you go, 11,701. What does it then do? Rally, go into a micro fractal and sit during the quiet Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, breaking last night, which we stayed up for. We waded back into Bitcoin, realizing that this was now going up. Where does it pause and form a bull flag? Right here on the 15,000 level. Once again, splitting the flag. There's your bear flag being split from corner to corner, and then your bull flag being split from corner to corner. It perfectly segments those two technical patterns. So very, very interesting. What should it do? Bull flag is continuation. It should go up. What does it do? It pumps again higher. Interesting. So there's your technical take. Bull flag and bear flag on either side. So what pattern are we at now? Double bottom. Ignore the fact that this is quite a bit lower than that. This was extreme selling on high volume. You've got a clear base here that was made, and that was respected again here. That is your W from your bear flag. W neckline 15,000 down to here. Clear key level of significance. Target of the HVF head and shoulders, the first one with the inverted HVF on your right shoulder here. Rally to your 15,000, fail to close it. Back down all the way, strong selling. So at this point, very bearish, lots of panic selling. Slightly less volume here than in these two panic sells. Grinding up, wasn't convincing us at this juncture. Again, strong sell. Stopping and supporting on 13,000 key level of support, which was also just run over here previously, just run over here on that, smashed through on the way down. Couple of periods just running and supporting on this bear flag. Lots of structure and patterns going on here, and all the way down there. So this 13 level just running and supporting this time. Microfractal HVF, is it up, is it down? It turned out up. So we were preparing and defending ourselves against down, because that would have triggered this neckline of a 13, which would have made this all one huge shoulder on the left hand side, and then made this whole area here a right shoulder with an inverted on the right. So this would have been a big inverted on the right with a lower neckline. So you often get nestled larger shoulders and bigger patterns, but they don't all have to occur. Eventually one of them fails, or all of them win and goes down to target, and there aren't any others. In this case, the larger one failed with this. I'm calling it a fail. Some might argue it could go up here and you still have a left shoulder and a right shoulder, but this one's dipped a lot lower, so the alignment has probably gone out, but you haven't necessarily got rid of every aspect of risk, but this has responded quite impulsively. So taking that now as a neckline, and these as a break of the neckline, and this as a right shoulder, while still possible, is, I would say, broadly not so likely, given the impulsive behavior here. But some might say not on huge volume. Well, you would expect that on Christmas and Boxing Day. But the impulsiveness, what we'd most like to do is take out the left shoulder's high. That also invalidates any future risk of head and shoulder structure. How would we do that? Well, we treat this now as a first in a new trend upside HVF. High 1, low 1, high 2, low 2. And then this is almost a primer within that, which is a small fractal HVF within the funnel. Up you go. You make the interim. You pull back on this bull flag, and now you're marching up. We'd want to see that target made. So that's the target for that. Why? Well, apart from making the target and affirming bullishness, it will probably go a little further and mean we have a bigger right shoulder, aka invalidating any potential or reducing the risk of any potential macro head and shoulders, which still has a small amount of risk. It would also take back the bearishness of this inverted HVF and reassume these levels, so that negates the bear bias that is set up by this HVF. And finally, by reacting highly impulsively, we have this W bottom that I was referring to with this 15,000 key level of significance, the bear flag at the split in half, the low taken at the target, even though it went through. Your key level of significance is always just run, which it was there in a highly impulsive manner because of the volume and the capitulation, touched and supported on there. So now we came up to the key level of significance. We bull flagged on it, the bull flag being split in two, a little bit above, a little bit below, in much the same way, and now we have reasserted. So this is what I would call a double bottom triggering event, which actually, if we take the target, is that, and will run you right up to the 18s. So Bitcoin, not a bad place to hide out at the moment. So if you get back up to the 18s, that will then give us a very, very good relative high 2. Even if it fails in this funnel for a while, it'll give us a very good relative high 2 for a down leg back to somewhere on the 15s maybe, or in the funnel here of the failed HVF to support, and maybe we'll have another ascending macro HVF. The nice thing about this is that's 19.9 all the way down to 11.7. You get the 8,700 plus, or is it 7,000? My math is terrible at the moment. 19 from 11, it'll be roughly 8,200 that you'll get, because that is 19.9 and that is 11.7. So you'll get $8,200 amplitude, which if predicted or projected from the 61.8% fib. Where is the 61.8% fib? You'll be amazed to know it's exactly on the axis of the right shoulder inverted HVF. That is your 61.8% fib. And if you project that amplitude, remember this is a log scale, that's why it doesn't look like 61.8%. If you project that amplitude up, you end up at 25,200. So that might be an amazing and awesome move for Bitcoin at some point. So that's pretty much the take for Bitcoin. So for me, this is bias bull again now. And we would like to see it take some of these funnels out, make the HVF target, and potentially after a small rest, after running these thick funnels area, maybe pull back, support and rest in it, previous resistance, now support, and then finish the double bottom target with a wick or two, just making it here and maybe dying in the funnel of the very first inverted HVF way up top here, and making a high 2 and giving us our next continuation pattern. So patterns everywhere, pattern analyzing and rotating. We're glad to have seen off the risk. It cost me a bundle, insuring myself and getting into Tether across all my accounts and getting back, chasing back in. But that's the cost of playing safe and not halving your Bitcoin. If it had gone to 6,500, which could happen. Don't have belief systems about these things. You saw that double, that head and shoulders target didn't make its target. We had confirmations for downside. It required a moment of strength and a reversal bit of power. Anyway, perfect bull flag there. And we're back in business, and let's see. I would like it to be strong if it's not going to be extremely weak. The most frustrating thing would be churn and just not much of anything and just wilting along in this area here. That would mean we go back to alt seasons while Bitcoin's not doing too much, and we pick off any relative strength alts that are setting up on HVFs. At the moment, you want to probably bias Bitcoin. If we pull in the coin market cap, picking winners here is very tough. If you have a look at this, if we base in terms of Bitcoin, all the alts are down with very few exceptions. 11% Ethereum, Cash 12%, Ripple 6, 11 is the average, 18 NEM. You've got EOS, the only one holding its ground by any margin and not significant, and then BitConnect, an outlier, right at number 19. So anything in the top 15 is losing in the mid-teens against Bitcoin, and this could continue for a bit. Okay, that's my update for you, and I will be, for my private guys, I might make this video free view later, but for all my premium guys, we'll be going live at 6 for all the opportunities outside of this. But that's my Bitcoin take. So I hope that gets everyone back on the map for that nervy spell that we had. All the best to you, and speak to you soon. Hope you had a lovely Christmas, and thanking you for your ongoing support.